You are being so nice to say the media misjudged what was happening in the White House. I mean, you know as well as I do that the media, more than any group, suffers from Trump derangement syndrome, truly sees him as evil, devoted themselves to bringing down his presidency. Every reporter, every blogger on the left suddenly considered themselves a mini Woodward and Bernstein and saw everything he did through a negative lens, conspiratorial lens, and interpreted every motivation as truly out for evil. I mean, that really explains the coverage. When you understand that's their mindset, that explains the coverage. So you're being very nice to a group of people who has been very unkind to you and your family.
But I'll give you the counter of that. And maybe it's my optimism, but because they went so crazy so early, I think we just stopped trying to cater to them and stop caring what they think, what they're going to say. And that freed us up to really take on a lot of power. So most White Houses will say we have one priority. Trump totally changed the metabolism of government. We were taking everything on at once. And that's what led to, I think, so many disruptive policies and results that other politicians were not able to achieve.
Then the din got so loud. It's like a child who's angry you're not paying attention to him when he's throwing his tantrum, right? So Trump wasn't paying attention, or, you're saying sort of you just decided to pursue policy. And then we got 2 impeachments. We got Russiagate. Now we're on a federal raid of his home. It's like Glenn Close in Fatal Attraction. I'm not going to be ignored, Don. That's the media and your father-in-law.
Yeah, it's been an interesting relationship that they've had. And the truth is, I think he wanted them to understand, and he was also the most accessible president that you've ever had to the media. He answered more questions. He liked engaging with them, but he also bypassed them and went directly to the people. And so it was an interesting dynamic. But again, I never believed in information asymmetry as much as I did. But then, I talk about this in the book, how, we go to Washington, we have this improbable campaign in 2016. We're all, outsiders coming to the system. We really, pull it off. A bunch of things went our way. President Trump did an amazing job campaigning. And we get there and you're expecting to be fairness. And then they hit us at the get-go with the Russia investigation, where they were alleging that we colluded with Russia. And for me, I used to get calls from my mom who was concerned and say, are the things they're saying about you true? Chuck Schumer, who my parents knew very well, and they were in the same circle on the Upper East Side. He was telling people that I was going to go to jail and be arrested, and he was absolutely certain. And then you'd see Adam Schiff on television promising people that there was indisputable evidence that he'd seen. And I'm sitting there saying, we didn't collude with anybody. And then I'm seeing the New York Times and CNN and the Washington Post, parrot these leaks that they're getting from intel sources, or I don't know who the hell they were getting from. But, every time they would write it, it became the biggest thing, and then people would cover it. And it turned out to all be a bunch of bullshit. So it was an interesting environment to work in, but you learn a lot about the world, and a lot of these institutions that are mythical, tend to just be, pretty either rotten or they never were what they were, but they're definitely not today the institutions that people have thought that they were.
Yeah. What is that like now, to have been inside that washing machine and to know what's true and what's not? There are those of us on the outside who believed we knew what the truth was, or disbelieved the media because we already had a healthy skepticism. But being inside the washing machine, getting, pulled and tugged and washed around, knowing that these things are untrue, but they're citing national security sources, right, which are supposed to be inviolate, unchallengeable. How does that leave you when it's all said and done? Like, how does that leave you looking at those institutions?
So I never used that description before, but I think it's actually pretty apt from my experience of being in a washing machine. But I think that if you take, a couple steps back and you try to go to 10,000 feet, you'll see that the Trump candidacy and then the Trump presidency, I never saw it as about left versus right. I saw it as about outside versus in. And I think that Trump truly didn't represent the donor class. He didn't represent the career politicians. And people saw him as an existential threat. And again, I was in, an echo chamber on the Upper East Side, and you were also in a media echo chamber. And I was hearing from all my people that, Trump was going to lose, and I was risking my reputation by helping him. But as I traveled the country with him, I remember going to Springfield, Illinois, where he says, come see one of my rallies. And so it was my father-in-law. I always respected him. And so I went to see, because I wanted to see for my own eyes what was happening in the country and why the polls were defying what all the, what I would call elite people were saying. And so I go to the rally, and Trump gets up there and he starts talking about issues that, like a Common Core or trade deals and protectionist trade policies to keep jobs in America, which my friends on the Upper East Side were saying were the wrong policies, but the people in the crowd were loving it. And it just made me realize that you have to find your truths for yourself. You have to explore more. And Trump represented these people against the career politicians. And Washington, for 30 years, you were either part of the Clinton clan or the Bush clan, and that really represented. And people just came to feel like they were not representing them. And so when Trump came in, he didn't play by their rules, and he brought an outsider's approach to Washington. And so this book, in a nutshell, what it shows is somebody who's not from the Washington establishment, normal person, getting thrown in a pretty abnormal world, and really trying to understand how Washington works, what drives people, where they resist, and then how do you ultimately get things done? Because it is an amazing system, and we did get a ton of things done. And I really write in this book how they happened, which of course many of the stories are not well known, because it was all the maneuvering behind the scenes to create the outcomes, even in light of all the resistance and investigations that they were throwing at us.
Like many of us, I am eating healthier these days, and that is why I love good olive oil. You got to have good olive oil. And by good, I mean fresh. Olive oil packs the most flavor and the healthiest nutrients when it's fresh from the farm. And that is the problem with supermarket olive oils. They're not fresh. They can sit on the shelf for months growing stale. That is why I love, and I do mean I love, my olive oil direct from small, award-winning farms, thanks to a guy named TJ Robinson, also known as the olive oil hunter. When I tasted TJ's Farm Fresh oils, I fell in love with their vibrant, grassy flavors. I know that sounds weird, but they're so good. They're incredibly delicious on salad, on veggies, pasta, meat, fish, you name it. When I first tried it, I was like, olive oil, it's all the same. Wrong. It's not all the same. As an introduction to his fresh pressed olive oil club, TJ's going to send you a full-sized $39 bottle of one of the world's finest artisanal olive oils, fresh from the new harvest, for just $1 to help him cover the shipping. Best of all, with TJ's Club, there's never a commitment to buy anything, now or ever, and you can cancel your membership at any time. Get your free $39 bottle for just $1. Just covering the shipping, that's all. And taste the difference freshness makes. Go to harvestfreshnow.com. That's harvestfreshnow.com for a free bottle, and all you pay is just that $1 in shipping. harvestfreshnow.com. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.